Mystery Science Theater 3000, the greatest television program in the history of the universe. Oh, that's right, I said it! Come at me, Comedy Central executive circa 1996 and Sci-Fi Channel executive circa 1999. And also Gramercy Pictures Publicity Department. The show was loaded with great musical moments, both full original songs in the host segments and covers, parodies, and other ditties sung in the theater segments.
It's not unusual to steal trucks from anyone.
This particular entry originated in a theater segment, just simple lyrics added to the movie score. These lyrics, to be precise.
This is the song written for the train chase. This is the chase, Rocky and Ken. He tried to kill me with a forklift. Olay!
But then it grew. There were reprises. They added it to a medley. It became a meme. It stuck with Misties for years and years, and it still makes me smile. This reference alone makes the Fugitive Alien saga essential viewing for anyone curious about the world of MST3K. In the not-too-distant future, next Sunday AD, there was a show where I list things, and my name begins with D. Was that a self-rhyme? D and AD? I don't know, I might be cheating. Welcome to the D-List. Mystery Science Theater 3000, the funniest television show of all time. And between an upcoming brand new season on Netflix, a wide net of alumni doing wonderful riffing projects of their own, and a recent reunion special where we got to hear them all riff together, there has never been a more exciting time to be a fan of the show that perfected movie riffing. So I thought I'd celebrate by looking at the show's second most popular aspect. Here are my top 12 favorite songs from MST3K. Number 12. Making up lyrics to the score of the film was a common pastime for the riffers, and once in a while these lyrics would get expanded into their own songs. The most notable instance probably comes from the Fugitive Alien series of films, which provided a memorable piece of score that Joel and the Bots turned into a memorable refrain. And then they turned that memorable refrain into a memorable medley.
This is the song starting off our medley, our favorite Fugitive Alien song. Don't try to kill us with a forklift, it won't take very long. Relax and sing along.
Okay, so the forklift part is the most memorable part, but I think it alone is enough for this song to warrant inclusion on the list. I mean, no Misty has ever looked at a forklift the same way again since these episodes. Still, the rest of the medley is pretty great. Some parts become memorable through sheer repetition.
I love Ken, he is my sweet friend, and I love him.
And as a bonus, the medley includes a second song about their hatred of a certain producer of localizations.
We want to stick it to Sandy Frank and sit on his chest and gob on his face and make him cry.
Number 11.
With a pickle mind, we kick the nipple beer, steady as a goat, we're flying over trout.
Sometimes the movie doesn't give the riffers much to latch onto, and the host segments end up being off-topic. Other times, the movie gives the riffers so much to latch onto that they can basically just reenact scenes from the film in the host segments, and it ends up being hilarious. 2 of Pod People's host segments are basically just sweeting scenes from the movie with only minor embellishment.
Minnie on the road now, Minnie in control, wheels on fire, burning rubber tires.
Which brings us to Idiot Control Now, a Mondegreen-laden cover of a song from Pod People, performed by Joel and the Bots, that is just so damn catchy.
Hit it, Leslie, go now. Nitty inches bow down. Pity in a poor boy. Pity inches roll. Bees on pie, burning rubber tires.
Honestly, I don't have anything to say about this song that they didn't say themselves.
Pretty good. What do you think?
It stinks.
Number 10.
All right. Yeah. Ow. Ow, ow, boogie. Ow. Back in the funky 70s.
After sitting through a piece of a re-edited Gemini Man episode, which is a subject I might know something about, Servo announces his song about the 70s.
Ow, ow, back in the super bad 70s, the Roman Empire still reigns supreme.
And yeah, the joke here is obvious, and the punchline to the scene is even more obvious, but it's still effective, and it really showcases their ability to capture any musical style they choose.
Do you remember the 50s when Emperor Claudius died? The Apostle Paul traveled to Greece.
Servo.
Number 9.
I was alone with the world to tame. I was evil but feeling blue.
So I'm a sucker for cheesy theme songs, and this ditty with lyrics like a sitcom theme and a presentation like a variety show theme is, well, it's just perfect.
I had a void in the shape of you, looking for love, hoping for evil. All I got was chicken cordon bleu.
I would put this song against any theme song written by Alan Thicke. Wonder if I can hire the Mads to write a theme for my life.
Ruling the world with our heads in a swirl, and it's keen. Living in deep 13.
Number 8.
Oh, I wish I was back in old Canada, a land which I never shall lampoon.
Roused Hour's adventures drudge up some Canadian resentment in Mike and Crow, so Servo comes to the Great White North's defense. Until Mike and Crow hijack it.
Oh, I wish I was stuck in the hills of Alberta, drinking beer with some big dumb guy trapping fur. As he scraped and he chiseled all the moose dung off his boots, I would learn that he's the Prime Minister.
Stop that.
A fine entry into the pantheon of satirical faux anti-Canada songs, this song doubles as a mockery of Canadian stereotypes and a mockery of mockeries of Canadian stereotypes, as Servo's lack of nuance strips any cleverness away, revealing the ugly viciousness underneath.
Just where the hell does Canada get off sharing a border with countries far superior to it?
Yikes.
Why, you lousy, stinking, francophonic, bacon-loving bastards! Your country's just a giant piece of...
Number 7.
Lyle Wagner's a total jerk, second only to Tommy Kirk.
A Catalina caper has given Servo a bit of a crush. A crush he seems more confused by than anybody.
That fishy story you tell always makes me sleepy, but that's just what I get for dating a girl that's creepy, my...
And the only way to express a crush like that is with doo-wop. And a surprising inability to spell.
R is for the gifts you give me every time you smile. The first E is for, well, I don't really know, but the second E is really a grammatical thing, because otherwise it would be Creppy Girl, and where would that leave us?
This song came early enough in the show's run that not everybody had yet taken for granted just how amazing Kevin Murphy's singing voice is. Suck on that, guy who hates Tom Servo's new voice.
Won't you be mine? I'll give you scrolls and fish and tinker toys and wine. I'll ditch these guys if you'll be my creepy girl.
Number 6. Outlaw of Gore is a sci-fi fantasy with elements of sword and sandal, so naturally it contains a lot of skin. And Mike and the Bots pay homage to this fact with a supercalifragilisticexpialidociously catchy tune.
It's breastica, bubical, chestica, mamical, pendular, globular, fawn.
I think it's a fair assumption that most Misties get this song stuck in their head when they encounter gratuitous nudity.
Is it gluteal maximal, tussidal cracula, bunula morning till night?
But I think the thing that makes this song work for me is just how much fun they're having with it. How joyous they are, not necessarily about the nudity itself, but just about the celebration. Even Gypsy gets in on it. So for me, this song isn't just a statement about the movie itself, but rather a tribute to how happy they are when they find something to celebrate in these terrible movies they're watching. And they don't always find something to celebrate, so they're grateful when they do. Number 5. Once again, we return to Pod People for the big, faux, emotional closer.
Tell me, where does all the magic go? when the curtain falls to end the show. Do the clowns always cry when they pack up the paper sky?
Joel bids farewell for the episode with a mantra that doesn't make much sense, but he's very passionate about it.
The lock is on the old stage door. Will there still be a clown in the sky for me?
And despite there not being an iota of seriousness behind the emotion, it still kind of works. It works so well that the soundtrack albums for the series were named after this song.
Tell me, where is that clown in the sky for me? Oh. I love you, Tom Servo.
I love you, Joel.
I love you, Crow.
You're not my real father.
What do you think, sirs?
It stinks.
Number 4.
Steve's a werewolf, but he's my guy. He's different from the rest, I don't know why.
Written by Mary Jo Pehl, this fantastic pastiche of girl groups from the past covers that old standard trope, the dead boyfriend. In this case, the dead boyfriend just happens to be a werewolf.
Where, oh, werewolf, I've looked everywhere, wolf. Where, oh, where is my werewolf?
And that's not even really the reason he died, other than slippery paws.
To make our point, it wasn't that far.
The Hiawatha exit, left at the first stop sign.
Well, whose story is this, Carol?
The bots ended up in drag quite a lot. And I gotta say, they really pulled it off.
I held his paw and I touched his cold nose.
That means he's healthy.
Werewolf is already one of the best episodes from the run of the show, and between this song and the Tusk closing credits bit, it's also one of the most musical.
Susie.
Where, oh, werewolf, I've looked everywhere, wolf. Where, oh, where is my werewolf?
Number 3. There's this subgroup of Misties who claim that Pearl Forrester wasn't a good character and that the host segments in the Sci-Fi Channel years were somehow inferior. I think this song serves as proof that those people are factually incorrect.
When loving lovers love, they're loving love on wings of gold and loving love.
Everything about this song is flawless, from the inane repetitive lyrics to the absolutely earnest performance by Mary Jo Pehl. The straight look at the camera kills me every time.
Love is all we seem to need when we're in loving love.
And then Brain Guy comes in and just sends it right over the top.
Your heart has wings to fly.
And no one else can fly.
I really can't say why.
I really do like pie.
I know a couple guys.
They really do like pie. And loving lovers love as loving lovers love.
Number 2.
Open up your heart and let the Patrick Swayze Christmas in.
We'll gather at the Roadhouse.
Penned by Michael J. Nelson, who just might have a bit of an obsession with Roadhouse, this tender carol is a loving tribute to the Swayziest of holidays, and if you made it this far into the video, this song's probably already a seasonal standard in your house, so you already know how great it is.
Let's have a Patrick Swayze Christmas this year.
Or we'll tear your throat out and kick you in the ear.
Hold it a Cambot, stop it.
And my number 1 favorite MST3K song, what's better than one Kevin Murphy singing? How about a whole chorus of them? I gotta stop wearing spoilers.
Here's to the guys and gals who like to fly, flying so high with some guy in the sky. Sky
More or less a medley of song lyrics that have something to do with flight. What sells this is how seriously the multiple servos take the song and how beautiful they make it sound.
Wouldn't you like to fly in my beautiful balloon? Take these broken wings and learn to fly me to the moon.
And between the gorgeous harmonies and the elaborate puppeteering, I can't even begin to imagine what went into the song behind the scenes. But I did recently talk to somebody who would know.
Putting the vocal tracks together was easy. I can harmonize with myself pretty easily, so that wasn't too hard. But making poor Jeff Maynard and Pat Brancic and Bees, I think, making the prop department put together all those servos so that they would perform in sync was a phenomenal task, and they did a fantastic job of that. I mean, first of all, getting 8 servos all together on stage at once to synchronize with their heads and their little beaks was a phenomenal task, and they pulled it off. It was fantastic.
Across the wide Missouri.
And those are my very favorites, but I haven't even begun to scratch the surface of great MST3K songs. And the new season will likely have even more, with potential guest stars like Jack Black and Neil Patrick Harris, and potential guest writers like comedy musicians extraordinaire Paul and Storm, and youngest EGOT winner and parental earworm initiator Bobby Lopez. There is a lot of comedy music talent being poured into the new season. And that's like 5th on the list of reasons I'm excited for it, so I will definitely be lingering around Netflix for a while once that launches. And until next time, this is Dave, signing off. Buenos dias. My siestas are getting shorter and shorter. I'm David Gansel, and welcome to Armchair Imagineering. So, Mystery Science Theater 3000 is the greatest television program of all time, but it's also a really niche television program. And while the recent revival has led to a lot more merch than the show used to have, it's still all the type of merch that's relatively inexpensive to produce and mass market. What I'm saying is, Mystery Science Theater 3000 is not the type of show that they usually adapt into theme park rides. But they should! And now that MST3K is a Netflix show, and another Netflix show got a temporary theme park attraction, I gotta say, a Mystery Science Theater ride is not quite as far outside the realm of possibility as it was even a few years ago. And believe me, I have spent a lot of time thinking about what a Mystery Science ride should be. The way I always imagined the ride is that you would enter through either Gizmonic Institute or Castle Forrester, but if they were making the ride now, it would probably be through Moon 13, and that's fine, I can work with that. In the queue, you'd move through a recreation of whichever version of the Mads lair the ride was using, as TV screens would feature new footage of the Mads, inviting you to take part in their newest experiment. An experiment called Mystery Science Theater 3000 The Ride. The Mads in question, whether it's Clayton and Frank, or Pearl, Bobo and Brain Guy, or Kinga and Max, would boast about their new technology having brought the worst movies of all time to life. And now they're putting you inside the movies. Having you ride the movies, if you will. And of course, much like the Simpsons ride, between these new clips laying out the backstory, we'd also have classic clips of the show, both host segments and shorts. In the final pre-boarding area, you get on an elevator that's decorated to be a rocket flying you to the satellite of love. There's one last video pre-show as the Mads prepare you for the experiment, but suddenly the feed is hacked, a la the Terminator 2 3D pre-show, by one of their previous test subjects. So either Joel, Mike, or Jonah, or ideally a randomized selection from the 3. The previous test subject tells you that they can help you escape the Mad's clutches in just a little bit, but in the meantime, they've left their robot friends on the ship to help you. And if you want to remain safe until your rescue, you should keep your hands and arms inside the vehicle at all times. People with certain health conditions should just escape now, etc., etc. You disembark from your rocket elevator, board the ride vehicles, and ascend the lift hill, which is, of course, the doorway sequence from the show. Then when you're at the top of the hill, a little hatch slides open at the front of the vehicle, and up rises an animatronic Crow and Servo. Think the E.T. adventure mixed with Rex from Star Tours. Crow and Servo introduce themselves, and you ride the ride. Basically, it's the Great Movie Ride, but instead of a human host explaining recreations of the greatest scenes in cinema history, it's two robot hosts making fun of recreations of the worst scenes in cinema history. Oh yes, one room would have an animatronic Torgo there just sort of wobbling. Oh yes, one room would have a giant creeping terror just slothing around. Oh yes, there'd be a big crawling eye. Oh yes, one room would have Gamera swinging on the pole, just always swinging, always swinging. But of course the real selling point of the ride is the jokes that Crow and Servo make in front of you, because they would be different each time. Well, okay, maybe not every single time, but there would be a large selection of jokes to rotate through. Each room would have over a dozen wisecracks that Crow and Servo can make at the expense of the ride, and each time you ride through, you never know which jokes you're gonna hear. In fact, maybe some of the rooms wouldn't have animatronics, but they'd have screens playing actual footage from some of these bad movies, adding an extra randomization element. One time you ride, the screen may be displaying the Shine Your Love scene from Angel's Revenge. Another time it might be playing the band who played California Lady. And within each of these random scenes, there'd be further randomization of the jokes you could hear during these scenes. We're taking rewritability to the max. I don't mean that max, but you know what I mean. Then as the ride continues, eventually the Mads appear on another screen and tell you that they're shutting down the experiment and you're all doomed. But an animatronic gypsy comes in and tells you that your escape is all ready. So you turn a corner and the drop at the end has you plummeting down the umbilicus, returning safely to Earth. You exit the ride vehicle to the Gizmonic gift shop, get your ride photos at Cambot's Corner, and get right back in line to find out what jokes you're gonna hear next time. The real selling point of building this ride is the only really expensive part would be the animatronic Crow and Servo on each ride vehicle, because all of the other animatronics could be Spirit Halloween level. Honestly, the cheaper the better, because you're going for the aesthetic of a crappy old movie you'd see on MST3K. Which is basically the aesthetic of a crumbling old carnival ride. And it could easily be updated every couple of years with new jokes. Just get Hampton and Barron back in the booth to say a few new quips and then slide them into the existing infrastructure. It's a ride that's relatively easy to maintain and keep fresh. The downside of building this is I honestly don't think there's a park out there that's willing to spend the money to license this particular brand. But if I'm wrong, and there is a park out there that does want to build this, I hereby rescind the rights to this idea to you and to Shout Factory and Best Brains. I don't care about money. You don't have to pay me for this idea. I just want you to build it so I can ride this thing. So what about you? What are some of your favorite movies and TV shows that you wish had a broad enough appeal to get their own rides, and what sort of rides would you like to see for them? Let's talk about this all in the comments, and until next time, this is Dave, signing off. Welcome to the D-List, the show where I list things and my name begins with a D. And I think we're overdue for a return to the musical world of MST3K. A few years ago, I listed my favorite songs from the original run of Mystery Science Theater 3000 in anticipation of the then upcoming revival. A revival that ended up having even more songs written by such extraordinary talents as Paul and Storm, and that guy who's the youngest, quickest EGOT, and the only double EGOT. Geez, Bobby, leave some talent for the rest of us. And now there's another revival on the way, complete with its own streaming service and a rotating cast. Multiple casts for Mystery Science Theater? My lifelong dream of playing Tom Servo just might be achievable after all. Come on, I can have a mighty voice. I'm good enough to receive a giant banner from someone complaining that they hate Tom Servo's new voice. I can be the new voice that they hate. I even have experience talking one-on-one with an expert on that mighty voice. So to celebrate MST3K building its new home where it doesn't have to answer to the whims of a larger network, it's time to visit the last in a string of networks to cancel it, Netflix. Here's my ranking of all the songs from The Return and The Gauntlet, the two Netflix seasons of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Number 14. So in my earlier list, I only included songs in host segments, not musical moments in the theater itself. But then in the Netflix seasons, they started actually doing a few full songs in the theater with instruments and credits at the end, so those gotta be included.
Guys, this is really tripping me out. Check out those lights, yeah.
Look, some movies just have long, dull, repetitive stretches that are hard to fill with new jokes, so what better way to fill those stretches than with a musical number that would have made the movie itself far more entertaining had it just been included in the first place? I'm just saying, there's a lot of MST3K movies that would have been infinitely more watchable if they were musicals. I've already got my pitch all set for Puma Man, Turn Off the Dark. And when they got to this stretch in Lords of the Deep, yeah, visuals this trippy definitely call for a sitar.
Could be cheese.
I like cheese.
Wow! I think I'll just go to sleep for a while right here.
It's a short little number, but it's exactly what was needed to get us through this poor man's 2001 A Sea Odyssey nonsense. Number 13. When Keogh the Bear Cub escapes from the movie that eventually led to Cave Dwellers, he wreaks havoc on the satellite of love until he's brought back down to Moon 13.
Help! I can't bear this!
Why'd you have to take our Keogh?
You can't keep a dangerous B-movie monster up there!
Max bonds with him, but the bear is taken away by Dr. St. Five, so Max announces that he will mourn the only way he knows how.
Guess it's time for my heartfelt song of goodbye. There's a cut on my hand and a pain in my heart. There's a cut on my hand and a pain in my heart. My feed bag is empty. Oh, where shall I start?
But then it cuts away, so all we get is that one stanza. Still, nice to see Max carries on his father's tradition of singing mournfully about critters that were taken away from him.
Nummy muffin, cocoa butter.
Number 12.
What do you do when a movie hurts too much? How do you fix the broken places you can't touch?
After falling in love with the giant monster Yongari and watching him murdered cruelly and heartlessly, Jonah and the bots are even more disheartened than usual, and they just have to sing about it. And their depression drives them to use one of my favorite devices in comedy songwriting, clunky metaphors.
Like you're haunted by a monster, but the monster is a movie about a monster who will not leave you alone. Tell me how to please push past the hurting. The time is now to please push past the hurting.
And in the grand tradition of Manos the Hands of Fate, even the mad start to feel some guilt as they come in with the bridge.
Is it wrong, this torment that we've wrought? Maybe we should be giving some thought
to repenting and doing some good for a change. Is it too much to ask? Is it really so strange? Two evil leopards finally changing their spots.
Of course, they don't feel it for very long.
Nah.
Push the button, Max.
And then they cut the song short, which is funny, but really leaves me feeling unsatisfied. Come on, give us a final chorus to resolve this musically. My ears are on the edge of their seat. Is this part of the torture, Mads? Number 11. In the end of the finale of the Gauntlet season, Jonah and the bots are being loaded up for the then upcoming live tour, but on his way out, he has his revenge on the Mads by hoisting them on their own petard.
The old experiments.
Every episode. A theater at the end of the storage facility?
And
who knew?
I wasn't in the guide with Mr. and Mrs. Adams.
But the victory is hollow as Jonah and the bots spend the end credits singing about their continued suffering.
Hours and hours of pain. Our sanity's run down the drain. Now the only thing left in my brain is your horrible show.
Your show stinks.
They do get briefly interrupted by a classic.
Idiot control now. Idiot control now. Nitty on the road now. Big stinks, your show stinks. Your horrible show.
Also, I guess nobody in MST3K can return to Earth without at least mentioning Hamdingers.
Our souls have been sent through the ringer, limping cold like an old hamdinger. We've been stripped to the bone by Kinger in a horrible show.
Number 10. After a very catchy song in the first episode of the revival, the next few episodes didn't really have much in the way of songs, but we'd make up for that in episode 4, Avalanche, which has 2 songs. Let's start with the second.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Satellite of Love presents Aloha!
Okay, this is less of a comedy song and more of a sketch that has some singing in it, but it's on the soundtrack, so it counts.
You can cry, wondering why that guy said goodbye, but snow gets in your eye.
In this segment, which might be named after a repeated refrain in the film,
Oh, she's having an aneurysm. That's charming.
It's like a 70s kitchen got up and danced.
Dear TripAdvisor, spent a magical weekend with the owner's mother. She's a bright, sassy lady. Seemed to think we were in Hawaii.
we get to hear Florence Gypsy's Lounge Act, which wouldn't have been out of place in the lounge in the resort in the movie, but they were too busy with their white boy disco.
They buried me in snow and ice, but I'm here.
Of course, it would have been in really poor taste to do all these avalanche jokes at the resort in the movie. While the song itself isn't particularly elaborate, it is a wonderful showcase of Rebecca Hansen's voice, and it's that kind of pastiche of vintage entertainment styles that MST3K has always excelled at. And it's got music by Evan Schletter, who is only the best.
Listen to those pipes. Pure PVC.
Number 9.
Growing magician, I know that you're wishing that you could do all the things that you want to and do them today.
After witnessing Simon in Wizards of the Lost Kingdom fail to control an army of the dead, Jonah and Servo act out a follow-up scene where Kor the Conqueror is much more supportive than the low-rent Rousdower he is in the actual movie.
Awkward and embarrassing, but it's natural and beautiful too. It's all part of the natural process, the magic inside of you.
Jonah as Kor channels his support for Servo as Simon's budding magical skills into a 50s ditty about puberty, and possibly a little bit about abstinence.
Simon, someday you'll raise the undead the right way, with someone you care about, when you're emotionally mature enough to handle the consequences. And then you'll feel the joy of commanding an unstoppable horde of ghouls, responsibly and as nature intended.
You know, this song just confirms that more after-school specials need to be about responsible use of the dark magics. The kids need to be prepared.
Finally ready for sharing the magic inside of you.
Number 8.
Gather round, people, run over and see the most fabulous thing in the whole galaxy.
Towards the end of suffering through a movie about a crappy carnival, Jonah and the bots are visited by P.T. Mindslap, portrayed by an actor who knows his way around both space magic and criminal circus folk.
Why don't we just binge season 2 of Fargo?
No! The Great Space Circus Show!
Joel Hodgson got in touch with Mark Hamill when he saw that Mark had donated to the Bring Back MST3K Kickstarter, and he asked him if he wanted to cameo on the show. So there's precedent for Kickstarter backers appearing on MST3K revivals.
I guess
I backed both the Kickstarters.
As they glide invisibly through the dark air.
Well, who they are really, you'll never quite know. It's the Great Space Circus Show.
Mindslap uses all his showmanship to describe the con, where you can't see anything, but you hear him describe the circus acts. It sounds dangerous with PT Mindslap.
of strong men possessing an even stronger smell. Snip as they lift with impossible ease. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll possibly sneeze.
But I'll give him this. Doesn't sound any worse than the carnival actually in the film.
The audience won't have a clue.
Well, who you smell, really, you'll never quite know. It's the Great Space Circus Show.
I'm an easy mark.
Number 7.
Plan to dine in the land before time. Hit me with the jingle.
Plan to dine in the land before time. Moon 14.
Yes, this is also less of a song and more of a sketch that has a jingle, but on the soundtrack.
It's probably kosher.
But who knows? These beasts died off before God made those rules. Do it!
Meet from before the time there was language. Moon 14.
The Mads pitch their new barbecue place where you can finally taste dinosaur meat. If the dinosaurs don't taste you first.
Our T-Rexcellent cut. The king of dinosaurs is now king of your stomach.
Is he eating the band?
No. Don't focus on what he's eating. Focus on what you'll be eating. Who he's eating. Whatever. Jingle this.
Tiny little lunch with great big flavor. Moon 14.
It's a solid sketch, and as brief as the jingle stings are, they do build on each other, getting funnier and funnier like a little punch at the end of each heightening of the premise.
And I just realized I forgot to lock the Allosaurus's pen again.
To the Moon 13 Mesozoic Panic Room.
Never should have tampered in God's domain.
No, we're in serious danger. We don't need a jingle right now.
Jingle self-aware now and saying what he wants to. Movie sign.
Number 6.
Our love is on wings you can't see.
In the first of Avalanche's songs, longtime Misty Neil Patrick Harris reunites with Felicia Day for another musical number about love in the time of vlogging.
Can't see. It's so sublime. Let's tie the knot online.
And this time, NPH isn't stuck being the pining, unrequited third wheel.
Why can't Kanga be that kind of in love with me?
Yeah, I know they're touting the praises, but boy, this makes me happy to no longer be in a long-distance relationship. I mean, I'm still in that relationship. We're just married and live in the same apartment now, which is much better than when we were on opposite coasts. Still, it seems to work for them, to a point.
If you have coffee breath, I'll never know.
There's no physical way I could step on your toe.
Our love is on wings, virtually.
There's no germs when you call.
Huh. Maybe this one was a few years ahead of its time. If you haven't yet and you are able to, please get vaccinated, everyone.
I need all of your love.
The thing I don't need is
so
you.
Close and yet so far.
Of course, this time it's Felicia's character who ends up heartbroken, but she still has a better end than she had last time.
Dear Diary.
Number 5.
Hit it.
Sick beat drop.
In episode 2 of The Gauntlet, King of Demands Jonah and the Bots recapture the magic of the previous season by performing a song that will be just as beloved as their first song. Even though she didn't react at all when earlier that very episode they reprised a classic MST3K song.
Open up your heart and let the passion Swayze Christmas in.
We're going cruising, ain't never gonna slow down.
Dancing like pirates in a Punxsutawney hoedown.
I don't think this was necessarily a deliberate reference, but I love that this beginning has the exact same energy as
Friday night, we're gonna party till dawn. Don't worry, Daddy, I've got my favorite dress on.
This is not what we had in mind.
Yeah, it stinks. And not in the joke way, it just really stinks.
Well, Kinga and Max may not have been satisfied, but I think this one's a lot of fun. It's so easy to use, oh, the joke is that the song is bad, as an excuse to not put effort into a comedy song, but I don't think this one really falls into that trap. In fact, what makes me laugh about this song is how hard you do feel the effort of Jonah and the Bots, the pressure to deliver, which is very relatable for anyone who's ever done creative work for hire. And then I really love how Jonah and the Bots actually start to get into the groove of the song and start to enjoy it. I wish that part was always true about work for hire.
We built a deck with Alex Trebek, funky disco.
And on a meta level, I appreciate that Kinga is demanding that they quickly rush out something that recaptures the success of an unexpected hit while they're watching an Asylum movie. I don't know if that association was deliberate, but it really fits thematically. Number 4. Yes, it's another in-theater song, but it's a fully fleshed out song with instrumentation and everything that even made it onto the season's soundtrack, and I'm glad it did because it's a jam.
Pair of flag sailors keeping it cool on the castle run.
Yeah, nobody can touch her.
Let me be the Picard
to your Beverly Crusher.
The gangway's extended
and we're ready to go.
To cover a long stretch of our leading ladies slowly boarding a spaceship, Paul and Storm cram every sci-fi reference they can into a Beach Boys pastiche.
She looks like a kitty cat, but rides like an ace. Serenity and Slave One can't keep the pace.
Whitley Strieber and Ranieri gonna join in the race.
Yeah, my UFO's the coolest GTO in space.
Applying the cliches of California car songs to Spaceships of the Silver Screen is a game that works really well, and the song is as catchy as any actual Beach Boys song, without needing to worry about royalties going to Mike Love.
Barada Nanu Nanu make it so, and climb into the side of a complete stranger's UFO. Don't do it. Don't do it. What a mistake. No!
Number 3.
I see seaweed and more seaweed. Say, I think I see a ray. No, it's just seaweed.
Another in-theater song, and this is one they go all out for, bringing in Waverly, Growler, and Gypsy.
Paradise below the dam.
Hey, look, an old rusty shopping cart.
I see a MacGuffin.
There's the poor man's Richard Chamberlain.
Never wear white to a suicide mission.
It looks like this was a particularly slow bit of movie, and they did have some spoken riffs for it interjected between the music, but there's still plenty of time to kill with some singing.
But though I don't see Barracuda or a school of ahi tuna, I'll still rip off Jaws 1 and 2 and 3.
Tell my story.
Oh my god, that's Tony! I didn't recognize him. He lost weight.
Actually, I'm a spreader. What are you gonna do? I'm dead.
In fact, there's so much time to kill, they can even stop to riff their own song.
You can spray your poison spray can, we'll still chew you up like bacon.
Okay, hold on. Hang in there a sec, and Tin and Can well. I let a lot of imperfect rhymes go by in this song, and I didn't say anything, but bacon? It's not even a real word as far as I know.
Ah, zip it, Kelsey Grammer.
But it honestly does make this stretch fly by. It's an unexpected masterwork of pacing as these sung verses and these spoken riffs weave into each other unexpectedly well.
Double cross speed. Damn.
Hey, language. Strain my heart. Me.
From the title, you might expect this to be an Under the Sea sound-alike, and it's not quite that. But there is a possible lyrical name drop of another Menken and Ashman Disney song.
Wanna be our guest while we ingest you and of all your flesh divest you. Big showbiz finish, gang!
Oh, so this song gets closure. Still waiting on that end for Push Past the Hurting.
Scram before they turn you into spam. We really mean it.
What is taking her so long?
Also, it has nothing to do with the song itself, but I do have to note that this song occurs about a minute or so after one of the many great theme park jokes in these seasons.
Can't believe this. There's never not a line for the Finding Nemo submarine voyage. There must be a parade going on, or I don't know, people got wise that it's just some cartoons projected on a window. I'm going back to Universal.
We sailed all the way to the Jurassic Park ride.
You know, I never realized how many Universal rides look like concrete bunkers in the jungle.
This is what happens when you mix in some SoCal nerds with the Minnesota nerds in the writing staff. Number 2.
Reptilicus is silly, but he really illustrates the great array of monsters all over the place. Not
The first host segment interrupting the first movie of the long-awaited revival had a lot riding on it, and boy, howdy did it deliver.
Geez, easy peasy, Mesa Maze. See, in the Yucatan, you can meet El Cadejo, and Belize they believe in him. They're not afraid to say so.
Confused by Reptilicus' country of origin, the bots asked Jonah to explain all sorts of kaiju from all across the world.
Well, duh, Crow. There's a lot that could kill you.
Hey.
Sorry, Crow.
Okay.
Rose.
Joe.
Yo, Jonah, how's the chorus go?
Every country has a monster they're afraid of.
And it's a perfect use of so many of Paul and Storm's talents. Their mastery of wordplay, their ability to deep dive into obscure information, and their catchy as all get out compositions. It might be the best song they've written for a beloved franchise since Ballad of the Sneak.
What turned the Musteer's guts to spaghetti?
Was it in Tibet?
Yep.
I bet he met a Yeti.
Australia?
Bear drop bears will impale ya.
Then they'll sell ya hella touristy paraphernalia.
And they even managed to work in shoutouts to both bare naked ladies,
Chickadee China, the Chinese chicken!
By that I mean Zhufang and Peng, giant Chinese birds, and one of them turns into a fish.
and Def Leppard. Or possibly The Offspring.
Guter Gleben Glauten Kroben.
And the performance by Jonah and the Bots is really impressive. I can't imagine how much rehearsal and how many takes it took to get this right without flubbing any major lines. I can barely get through one line of the script without flubbing, and I'm looking at a teleprompter. Might not want to admit that if I'm trying to get hired.
Every monster has a country.
That's Canada.
Yeah, a station they call it home.
For many fans, this song was confirmation that we were in good hands with this revival, and Jonah scrambling with the props was reassurance that despite the increased budget, we would still get some of the homemade charm of the original series.
Every monster has a country. Yeah, we've got movie sign. Oh, we got
And my number one favorite song from the Netflix seasons of Mystery Science Theater 3000...
Hit it, Joe! So the word on the street is you got a little movie about time, in particular the day it's gonna end. Well, friends, an ordinary movie man might make an unassuming 3-act structure.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm a sucker for a Music Man parody. Of course this is my favorite song from the revival. So yeah, I would be predisposed to like this one, even if it wasn't an absolutely perfect fit for this movie.
Gonna be a doozy. You can't lose when you choose to use a lot of concepts.
Concepts?
Gotta stock them up chock full of concepts, premises, plot points, anything and everything. Throw them all at the wall, y'all. Just pack in the...
A patter song is really the only way to do justice to the sheer amount of stuff that the daytime edit throws at its audience, and a flim-flam man trying to sell that stuff to the screenwriters makes as much sense as any explanation.
But can you help us apply this method to our movie?
Darn tootin'. Everybody throwing a skimmer hat and a one-piece striped bathing suit. Let's dive right in. Octagonal solar powerhouse in the desert with a stable in the back. Not bad for a start, but pals, let me ask you, how's about a pyramid?
A pyramid?
Great big green glowing pyramid.
The first time we watched this episode, as soon as Servo showed up in that Harold Hill getup, Allie turned to me and said, "I'm so happy for you right now."
Because we're already moving on.
My wife knows me well.
Dancing in the bedroom, naked as a light green jaybird. Has he got a single thing to do with the moving of the plot? Who cares?
I know, did I mention? You're gonna need a kettle full of spaceships.
Spaceships!
Also, this episode had 2 great Disneyland jokes.
Wait, this is Radiator Springs? The Imagineers really phoned it in on this one. Yeesh.
It pays to get there early for Phantasmic.
The only way the show could pander to me any harder is by hiring me.
Yeah!
Ah, who am I kidding? I could never be half the Robert Preston that Baron Vaughn is.
Sure,
Bring on and on and on and on those concepts.
And that's my ranking of songs from MST3K The Return and MST3K The Gauntlet. And I can't wait for more songs, sketches, and ripping when the Gizmoplex opens. But what about you? Which songs from these 2 seasons were your favorites? Let's discuss this all in the comments, and until next time, this is Dave, signing off. Mystery Science Theater 3000 was brought back from the dead for the 3rd time? Comedy Central killed it, Sci-Fi Channel killed it, Netflix killed it. Yeah, 3rd time. And now it's on its own platform, the Gizmoplex. And from 2022 to 2023, said Gizmoplex gave us rotating casts of delightful riffers, including the return of Joel Robinson, all riffing on monthly features and monthly shorts, one of which shares a universe with a short that I already riffed.
Well, Sally Gasco did once.
Gasco?
When the
Gasco family's name was changed at Ellis Island from the Utilities Co. family. Does the fact that I riffed a Sally Gasco short 1 month before Servo was incredulous about Sally Gasco's name mean that I'm qualified to be one of the next Servos? Please? But more importantly for this video, a new MST3K season means new MST3K songs, and new MST3K songs means I'm gonna rank them. There weren't that many new songs this season, and I'm not counting covers of existing MST3K songs, so none of the Christmas medley at the end, but there were still enough songs that warrant a ranking, so welcome to the D List, the show where I list things and my name begins with the D. Number 5.
Wait, Santo is in the treasure, so he's part of the treasure, or?
After Santo's underwhelmed response to the supernatural events of the film, Jonah and the Bots pay tribute to a more reactive character.
Oh, Crow, do you mean?
The one, the only,
Perico! All rise for the Perico Loyalty Club March!
Perico, he is loyal and true.
Yes, when you're this desperate for a character on screen to have an emotional reaction, even this low-rent Jerry Lewis will do it for you.
There standing was the man with the
Don't be a liar, Perico. There's no one there.
I swear on my sons, I saw the man standing there.
You don't have any sons.
For the ones I will have.
I doubt it.
I, for one, think the somewhat off-rhythm nature of the march is an appropriate tribute to this particular character.
Perico! He steals every scene.
He's the bestest wrestling sidekick that there ever has been.
Look, I've seen movies that are so boring that even bad comic relief would be more interesting than what's going on, so I too appreciate Perico.
Perico!
Yeah.
Ah, Perico.
Number 4.
I have a million eyes, for I am Sumeru.
I don't see how the two tie together, but okay, I guess that. I see.
After an underwhelming end to an underwhelming villainess, Kinga wants to pay tribute to the villainesses she inspired.
Sumeru walked so that we could run. You'll all bow down before us by the time we're done.
This song doesn't really demonstrate how Sumeru inspired anyone else, it just kinda lists other villainesses, and only a handful at that.
All my girls up to their old tricks. Hella, Cruella, and Bellatrix. Cersei and Ursula coming for you. Also Ursa from Superman 2.
Now that there are more women in the Mystery Science Theater cast, I'm glad we returned to the girl group song. The Girl Boss Gaslight Gatekeep girl group song. Try saying that 5 times fast.
Supervillainesses.
But then the song just kinda cuts itself off in the middle.
The leaders of our respected packs. Go ahead and push the button next.
Sorry.
I said push the button next!
I love any chance to hear Felicia sing, and I would have loved this expanded into a fuller song, actually exploring Sumeru's influence on other supervillainesses and listing even more supervillainesses, but I guess a less anticlimactic ending wouldn't have been right for a song inspired by Sumeru.
And now to let the disappointment wash over you.
Number 3. The Gamera cinematic universe has always been one of the most musical in the Mystery Science catalog.
Gamera is really neat. He is filled with turtle meat. We all love you, Gamera.
And that musicality continued in Gamera vs. Jiger.
Gamera, take the body home. Gonna eat the flesh and bone. Keto diet, Gamera. Gamera's a movie that has no end in sight. No going home. This is now your life.
And that musicality continues into the final host segment.
I can't think of anyone more deserving than a good old Irish monster funeral song, huh? So let's throw back another round of Jagger bombs and sing! Yeah! She came from Wester Island, beneath a rock-bound bed, been sleeping off a banda and an aching giant head.
Like most recent MST3K songs, this was written by Paul and Storm, who know a thing or two about writing Irish drinking songs.
Now everybody's died, so until our tears are dried, we'll drink and drink and drink and drink, and then we'll drink some more. Something, 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 la da 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 da, la da dee da, something, something, la da da.
And who know a thing or two about showing up in my musical D lists. I wasn't planning on having them so represented 2 months in a row, but hey.
So raise a glass and shed a tear and roar, roar, full roar to the monster of our hearts who isn't living anymore.
I feel like there's no better premise for both an Irish drinking song and a Mystery Science Theater song than mourning that friend who was kind of bad at everything and you're still kind of bitter at, but you kind of miss him anyway.
Oh, I'm going to miss you, Jagger.
Oh, Jagger was too beautiful for this world in a hideously malformed way.
Number 2.
You probably noticed the soundtrack to Beyond Atlantis featured literally every genre of music except one. Until Now.
It's Emily's first song. Written by Every Place I Cry's own Ross Bryant, this gives the characters of Beyond Atlantis a chance to rap about their whole deal. Whatever that whole deal was.
I'm a mother crabber, a live coral stabber, open to the waist, no button should have her. Hopping on my boat and I sail like a regatta, going through the water like I'm Nereus' daughter.
It's no Every Country Has a Monster, but it's still way better than Beyond Atlantis deserves.
Hey, on the crabs!
Oh, look at those pearls!
Where my pearls at?
Where my pearls at?
Where my pearls at?
No, Pearl's not in this segment.
I'm a mother crabber, live coral stabber, beard, no mustache, loincloth haver.
And the segment is the episode introduction of the newer, easier to puppeteer, and easier to take on tour GPC2.
You can't argue with the results. Did you hear those bars I just laid down? Doesn't change the fact that I'm a
mother crabber, live coral stabber, puka shell necklace, white suit haver.
And then we get a bit of the instrumental over the credits. It's pretty simple. Of course, the song still doesn't answer the main question one would have about the movie.
So what is a mother crabber anyway? A mom who goes crabbing?
And my number 1 favorite Mystery Science Theater song from the Gizmoplex-Era so far.
Somebody stop me from saying somebody stop me.
The Gizmoplex season includes an episode called The Mask, which is 2 major firsts for MST3K, the first MST3K Halloween special, and the first MST3K episode in 3D! Well, parts of it in 3D. In an optional version, but it's also the only episode of the season to have a song in the middle of the episode instead of the final segment. That's no reflection on the song's quality, it's just kinda noteworthy. And that song in the middle of the episode is a Monster Mash parody.
Can we make up our own novelty song? And can it be about monsters going to a party?
Well, good news, Crow. By law, all Halloween novelty songs have to be about monsters going to a party.
This episode dropped 5 days after my Monster Mash Parodies D-list was released. Paul and Storm came in number 1 on that list with Lame Monster Party, and now they've crafted this natural extension of their earlier take on the mash that comes in number 1 on this list.
Every monster got one, but to my surprise, midnight struck, I started getting their replies.
What?
Jason said he's staying home and sharpening his axes.
Okay.
Frankenstein, he needs the time to finish up his taxes.
Taxes?
Norman Bates' mom's in town, Jigsaw's toilet's leaking.
What?
The mommy and the Shining Twins have planned for antiquing.
No, they can't come.
Yes, the only thing lamer than a monster party where nobody's having fun is a monster party where nobody even shows up.
Ego borrowed corpses, now he's gotta go replant them. Dracula's big enough because he's got tickets to see Phantom?
And it really does feel, in the best way, like an alternate version of Lame Monster Party. They both feature more modern, more copyrighted monsters, and they both just feature those monsters being just too lame.
It's such a major bummer that nobody will come over.
Jeez, I even got blown off by Casper?
Cram.
And Grover.
So nobody comes to the party, but after intermission sign, there's a follow-up for the next holiday season.
Wait, hold on, maybe that's it. What if we just invited all the monsters over on a day when they're not doing anything? Cambot, hit it!
So instead of scheduling their party for the busy day for monsters, they schedule their party for the busy day for Misties.
A smorgasbord of dishes for the living and deceased.
It's a hairy, scary, spooky, ooky, turkey day!
Look, there's no doubt in my mind Bobby Boris Pickett would have gotten to Thanksgiving eventually, after all the other holidays.
Yes!
They will come!
And that's my ranking of the new songs in the Gizmoplex episodes so far. But which of these songs is your favorite? Let's discuss this all in the comments, and if you like this video, you might want to revisit my earlier Mystery Science Theater videos, including a couple of interviews and 2 earlier song lists, or all my lists in general, or my own meager attempts at riffing. Go leave angry comments on my riffs about how I don't deserve to be one of the new servos. And until next time, this is Dave, signing off.
Vehicles.
Yeah, close-up directed by Coleman Francis.
Traffic laws. It's downright dangerous.
At least they're not wearing hideous monkey masks. Time to fire up the old interocitor, convene with Exeter and Brack.
Some reasons why the invention of barbed wire was so important to the development of the Great Plains.
Well, it stole the MST3K movie's advertising budget. Still a better parade than Fun in Balloon Land. So, Super, the Man of Fate. Man, interocitors come in the craziest shapes these days.
The film Manners in School employs fantasy plus a combination of live action and animation to arouse interest.
Oh, now this is unfair. Showing me a short that Riff Tracks has already covered?
As we shall see in this excerpt from The Snob.
Oh, come on. Literally everybody's riffed that one.
Yep, down that way.
They brought in the ADR team from Manos. Ooh, which one? Tennant? Whitaker? McCoy? Peter Cushing? Sarah from The Snob is crying by those trees.
Crow here.
A servo here.
How about these young fellows coming out of the medical schools?
Besides, I gotta teach my gym class why they should study industrial arts. No ghosts! Drugs are like that made less of a leap. Hey everyone, Dave here for Geek Vision, and what follows is an interview I did earlier today over the phone with Bill Corbett, who of course you know as a writer-performer for Riff Tracks and Mystery Science Theater, the classic TV show where he played the second incarnation of Crow and Observer, aka Brain Guy. It would be more appropriate if I was wearing a Crow t-shirt, but I only own servo shirts. I am woefully unprepared. Let's just go straight to the interview with Bill Corbett.
It's time for Riff Tracks.
Bill, it is a pleasure to speak with you.
Thanks, David. You too.
Obviously, Mystery Science Theater continues to be one of the most beloved shows of all time, with an immensely passionate fan base, and if I'm not mistaken, you yourself were a fan before you joined the team, correct?
Yeah, I was. I was a little bit late to the game, comparatively, probably to people who were there from the get-go. But yeah, little by little, I just realized that a lot of people I knew in the Twin Cities, like in the writing and comedy communities here, were sort of involved with this show or knew about it. And I got invited just by chance to a party at Best Brain Studio through a mutual friend. And that's when the first time I really knew for real about the show was actually going around the studio of MST3K, which is kind of a weird way to find out about it. But after that, I sat down and watched a bunch of episodes actually in the studio. You know, they were just sort of running during the party, and I couldn't get enough of it. So the next Turkey Day, I just sort of parked myself in front of the TV set and watched most of it. And from there, I just loved it.
And of course, now you and Mike and Kevin are with Riff Tracks, and I saw earlier this year that there are now more feature-length Riff Tracks than there are episodes of MST3K, so congratulations on the milestone.
Thank you, I guess. Volume.
Yes, quantity is what matters. Now, Riff Tracks has its next big live event on August 14, Roland Emmerich's Godzilla, starring Matthew Broderick and half the cast of The Simpsons.
That is so true. It's weird to see, Simpsons actors who I love just sort of tooling around in this weirdo, not very good Godzilla.
Now, I understand you'll be premiering the new Riff Tracks theme song by Jonathan Colton with animation by Harry Partridge. It's everything great about the internet converging in a single moment.
We hope so. We asked Jonathan to do the song, and luckily he said yes. And I think it's so great, and we've been sitting on it for a while. We have a little snippet of it, sort of leading into some of our stuff now, just to sort of a little bit of the verse. And we have for months, but then we decided we'd like to premiere it with a little animated cartoon, and those take some time, especially the way Harry does them, and especially at the level of quality he does them. So we've been sitting on it sort of anxiously, hoping to get it out there as soon as possible, and I'm so excited it's finally going to premiere, be out in the world.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Now, your work on Riff Tracks is obviously very similar to your work on Mystery Science Theater, but there are a few contextual differences. On MST3K, you had a robot puppet, obviously clear difference. And your characters on the show were being forced to watch these movies. The riffing was a form of self-defense. With Riff Tracks, there's no such backstory. You're going out of your way to watch these films and joke about them. How does the shift in context influence the approach to joking about these movies?
Well, I think you're absolutely right the way you frame it. I think we've only sort of figured that out stumblingly as we went. That even though, the bots could sort of do or say anything ultimately because they were these blank slates for comedy and always rediscovering the world and wiping it out again. It doesn't quite work when you have three guys who are playing themselves and are, have been around for a while. We're not like Mork coming to Earth or anything. So I think the main effect has been to maybe over time just stop the sniping at the movie or feeling, that sort of complaining that you have to be there as much, which is probably a bad comic instinct anyway, because a little of it goes a long way and it's not very funny. I think the other thing is, here and there we've alluded to ourselves more and made ourselves the butt of our own jokes, like sort of running thing. We sort of joked the other day that usually like one of us will say something weird about our past and the other two will act shocked, but it's always like it's a rotating weirdness about how bad our years in school were or how torturous and horrible our marriage is, and none of which are true, but so it's sort of filling in a little bit of a narrative at our own expense. But I think beyond that, outside of the way that we write them, which is not as much of a writing room anymore until we're all together, it's not all that different.
Another key difference in the movies you're selecting, on Mystery Science Theater, most of your audience hadn't seen the movies you were riffing before the episodes came out. You could play up the element of discovering these weird old films, and you can still do that a bit with your VODs, but when you're doing an MP3 riff of, say, The Avengers, everybody watching already owns the film, they've seen it already. Is there any difference in approaching the joke writing of a film that the audience is already familiar with versus a film they've probably never heard of?
Yes, good question. I mean, we still at this point in going into our 8th year here, our main business really is the video on demand, like that, and the shorts. Those are the things we put out the most. But we still do these tentpole things, which it started out to be like most of what we did in Riff Tracks, but we little by little realized that people wanted to get the whole movie too, and that we could still do these B movies if we bought rights or if they were in public domain. But when you see something like The Avengers or Jaws or any of the Star Wars, you have to certainly keep in mind that people know this, and some of it, like any of the Star Wars stuff, has been raked over so often that you can seem really hackish if you do jokes that have been done a lot in pop culture. So we do try to keep aware of that. Like we did Wizard of Oz as a sort of event/stunt riff recently, and we were really aware of how much ground has been trod over the years with Wizard of Oz, and tried to research it when possible, and try to make it a newish thing where we could. But you're right, with the older movies, it's almost like an act of curation of not very great stuff, and it always has been. And that was one of the aspects of it that people liked as much as anything. I mean, just we found this, and here it is. We're going to make jokes about it, but here, this is now in your sight here. after we dug it out from some vault somewhere. And occasionally we still have movies like that, like Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny, which we found a couple of years ago. It wasn't entirely unknown, but obscure enough so that none of us had heard of it. And then one of our fans just said, "Hey, look at this thing here," and we couldn't quite believe it. I mean, it's as bad as anything we ever, bad in its own way, at least, as anything we ever did before.
You do have first-hand experience with Hollywood, and I apologize to pick at old wounds, but you did co-write the first draft of what eventually became Meet Dave. So you have seen how far off the rails a production can go from its original idea. Does that give you any more empathy towards anybody involved in, say, a Transformers or some similar terrible film?
Yeah, it does, in a word. Yeah, I mean, the experience with the Eddie Murphy movie, which ultimately became Meet Dave, was telling. And I hate to be too sour about it. I mean, I got a lot of money out of it, which was nice for my family at the time. But, you know, the cost of making money in Hollywood usually is sort of giving up a lot of your artistic control and having it be tooled for what a corporation thinks is going to make the most money. So you have to kind of accept that. And I'm more sympathetic or empathetic towards actors and even writers who get caught up in that and just are trying to do a bill-paying movie or two to get back to their real thing, or they think it's good and then it just gets off the rails. And there's a lot of factors that are involved, and it sometimes shocks me that there's anything good at all coming through Hollywood. And there are some good things here and there, or partially good at least, even if Meet Dave was not particularly one of them.
Now, some of the people in films you've riffed seem to be fans of yours. Several cast members from Starship Troopers and Birdemic attended those live shows. Does that ever make you self-conscious about your jokes, or do you just trust that if they're at the show, they have a sense of humor about themselves?
It does make us a little self-conscious. I must admit, you know, it wasn't really much of an issue back in the MST3K days, and even when we were doing the big blockbusters and more in the early days of Riff Tracks, you know, we were fairly certain that Hollywood was not paying attention to us. We were just too small, and that they'll just sort of flick us off like flies. I mean, they get so much feedback on their movies and their performances that it just wasn't on their radar. But now that we're doing these things as events with, movies and actors that maybe they're still alive and kicking, and they're still fairly young, but maybe with 10 years ago or more, like with Starship Troopers, it was more like 15 years ago, or Birdemic, which was really just a couple of years ago, and has risen from being this obscurantist little, you know, find to kind of some part of pop culture or The Room. Yeah, suddenly I'm like, I don't want these people to hear me abusing them, and it's not a bad thing to keep in mind, I think. You know, don't be a jerk. You can have fun, but don't be a jerk. The people from Starship Troopers, by and large, were real sports about it, and ditto with Birdemic. But still, yeah, it's worth keeping in mind.
Now, are there any movies you would really like to riff, but you just haven't been able to convince the others that they're riff-worthy?
Well, there's two things going on with that. One is, I think there's movies we would all like to riff, but there's a bunch of movies that kind of don't fit for how we do things just because of the economic model. And I'm talking about like Stallone movies of the 80s. Like we tried that arm wrestling movie, Over the Top, in the early days of Riff Tracks. We even did it as a live show for Sketchfest in San Francisco. But it didn't sell at all, and it wound up losing money. And we realized, well, those movies that people, you know, the MP3 part of the Riff Tracks business has to be either something that people have or can get easily. And, you know, something like that, more obscure 80s titles that we can't get the rights to but are still people aren't going to have, really did badly. So we tend to avoid those, and that disappoints us all. So we're hoping for a way out of that eventually. But the other part of it is stuff that I like that the other guys are not into. I've always wanted to do one of my favorite movies of all time, Billy Jack, 1970s classic about a half-breed Indian guy who knows karate and saves a bunch of hippies because they can't kick ass themselves. It was a movie that I really loved growing up when I was a kid and thought it was just so meaningful and good. And then I looked at it later on as an adult and went, oh my God, that's not very good at all, is it? So, yeah, that's one for me. But those guys have not really bit. It might also be one of those ones where we would try to do it and it wouldn't sell and we couldn't get the rights to anyway, but I'd like to make the effort.
I also want to just quickly mention a non-Riff Tracks project of yours, your comic book Superpowered Revenge Christmas. I was a Kickstarter backer, so I've read the PDF, and it's a wonderful, spot-on parody of dark and gritty reboots, wrapped inside a nice little touching Christmas story.
Well, thank you, David. I appreciate it. I just sent out the physical books literally yesterday, so I'm really... It's been slow, and my Kickstarter backers, like you, have been incredibly good and patient. But now it's a real thing, and I'm really excited to start, putting it out there more.
That's wonderful. I'm looking forward to seeing the physical, to being able to hold it in my hands.
Yeah, it was really thrilling. I have to say, I kind of geeked out at having my own graphic novel in my hand.
It's wonderful. So you've got that coming up. You've got Riff Tracks Live on Godzilla on August 4th. After that, you'll have Anaconda. Is there anything else you'd like to plug that's coming up?
I don't think so. The comic book and Riff Tracks are kind of what's going on right now. I think we will also do a Christmas show, but we don't have a title yet. We're looking for something that is seasonal, but haven't exactly chosen yet. But that's it.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to seeing those. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Thank you, David. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for checking out my chat with Bill. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. If you're not already following Bill Corbett on Twitter, you need to get on that immediately because he is a very, very funny man. At Bill Corbett. Follow him on Twitter. And don't forget to check out the Riff Tracks live performance of Roland Emmerich's Godzilla, coming soon to a movie theater very close to you. As long as you live near a movie theater where it's playing. Just check it out. Every Riff Tracks live show has been a phenomenally fun time, and I'm sure this will be no exception. And if you have a few moments, you could check out some other interviews I've done at geekvision.tv or at doggans.com. And until next time, this is Dave signing off.
It's time for Riff Tracks. Geek Vision. It's time for Riff Tracks.
Hey everyone, Dave here for Geek Vision, and I am thrilled to be here with someone you all know from Mystery Science Theater and Riff Tracks. You'll be able to catch him in a theater near you coming up June 28th at the big Mystery Science Theater reunion Riff Tracks 10th anniversary extravaganza. As far as I know, that's the official name of it.
Close enough.
I am here with Kevin Murphy. How are you, sir?
I am splendid, and how are you today?
I am doing wonderfully. I'm doing my best after dealing with all the Los Angeles traffic to find my way here.
It's no fun.
No fun at all. Now, there have been exciting times to be fans of riffing in the past, but I would dare say there has never been a more exciting time to be a fan of riffing than right now. We've got Riff Tracks still going strong as ever. Mm-hmm. We've got Joel rebooting Mystery Science Theater. Frank and Trace are riffing. Mary Jo and Bridget are riffing. This is the best time since the show went off the air to be a fan of what you do.
Well, isn't that wonderful? And I never expected, I didn't know how far it would go beyond the show. We had no idea. We all went off and started doing our own stuff after the show was over, and we found our way back to this because I don't know, it's something we all enjoy, and it's something I think we're all pretty good at, and I think that's probably why it happened that way.
Well, you in particular, you were, I believe, the longest-running cast member on the original show, and you've been with Riff Tracks since basically the very beginning. There's no more qualified riffer than you, so...
I don't know about that. I mean, I worked with all those guys back in MST, and they were all fantastic and inspirational for me. And working with Bill and Mike is fantastic and always inspirational. I strive to stay up to their level of performance. They're that good. But yeah, it is. I have that dubious distinction that I was involved with every single episode of Mystery Science Theater, from the very first one at KTMA to the very last one, after which they cut up the set and sold off chunks of it on eBay. So that's a dubious distinction, I think.
And then even between those, you were with the film crew. You did 4 episodes of Riffing, and you worked on countless other projects, including in the middle there, I have to take a tangent. You wrote my favorite book on cinema, A Year at the Movies, which is a really fascinating book, especially because I have come across this misconception that riffing is about hating on movies, but that book clearly demonstrates that you do have a love for cinema and a respect for cinema, even if you enjoy having fun with cinema.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. I don't know. I'd say that it's about the love of cinema, ultimately, because we wouldn't make fun of these crappy movies unless they were crappy. I mean, not the way we do. And, truth be told, we have done on Riff Tracks, we've done Jaws, we've done Casablanca, we've done the Lord of the Rings films because we loved them. And it turned out for those to be more like a roast than a drubbing of the film. Whereas Twilight was just like sweet, yummy candy for us. Yeah.
You certainly got a lot of mileage out of the Twilight franchise. And certainly a mileage just out of using the word line.
Yeah. Well, it's their fault,
Of course.
We don't pull these things out of the air. They set us up for it. As Trace said long ago, the movie is the ultimate Margaret Dumont for us, the ultimate straight person, and we just take advantage of that.
Not that I care, but where is your husband?
Why, he's dead.
I'll bet he's just using that as an excuse.
Now, of course, we all knew you well as Tom Servo, but you also played a handful of other roles over the course of Mystery Science Theater, notably Professor Bobo. So I guess the real question is, which was more annoying, the ape makeup or holding a heavy robot over your head?
Oh, the ape makeup, absolutely. I remember one day, the worst of it was, early on we had this mask that was not adhesed to my face, which is bad enough. It also had a rubber strap that went around the back of my head. And we spent 11 hours that day shooting and then doing production stills afterwards. I was in the mask the whole time. And then on my way, I had taken off the mask, and on my way home from the studio, I started experiencing my first migraine. And I nearly had to pull off the road. It was so bad. I nearly blacked out when I walked in the front door, and it was all because of the mask.
Well, we have our answer. What was the worst that happened with Servo? Your arm fell asleep once or twice? Or
Yeah, he was a hefty little guy. And, it's just when you're trying to get a take just perfectly and his head falls off, that was always a frustrating kind of thing. It wasn't always funny when his head fell off. We were trying to get this shot done, and then suddenly Tom's head had fell off, and we go, shit!
Now, the biggest, at least the biggest cosmetic difference between Mystery Science Theater and Riff Tracks was the lack of the robot characters, was moving away from this framing story of being in space and just being 3 guys riffing on movies. And I asked Bill this in the past, but do you notice any difference when you're writing material for a cute robot puppet versus when you're writing material for yourself to say?
Oh yeah, definitely. With the puppet, a thing like a puppet, you can get away with murder. They can do anything. You can kill them in one scene, and then they'll be back in the next. You can blow them up, and then you just put them back together again. And they can say things. They can get away with saying things that a human being can't. It's sort of like the ventriloquist dummy thing, is that a ventriloquist dummy can say whatever the hell it wants, and in the right context, it can get away with it. Whereas, as grown men there, we don't have as much latitude to mock or to deride or whatever you call that a puppet can get away with, really. A lot of things that would be more too base and too immature for us to pull off as grown men.
With Mystery Science Theater, your targets were mostly movies that nobody in your audience had seen before. You were discovering these, for the sake of argument, let's call them gems. You were discovering these unknown, bizarre pieces of culture, whereas with Riff Tracks, lately you've been going back and forth where you do a lot of those B movies that you're showing to an audience for the first time, but you also cover these big blockbusters that your audience is quite well experienced with. So what are some differences in tackling a project like, say, Roller Gator that nobody's ever heard of versus a project like The Force Awakens where you know everybody's already been watching it and starting to form their own jokes in their heads?
Well, first of all, I really hated Roller Gator. Lord, man, that film was awful. So in some ways it was perfect for us. Well, like something like The Force Awakens, yeah. Half the world had already seen it. And we didn't want to just go back to the well of all the old Star Wars jokes that we'd done in the past. So, first of all, with a big Hollywood film, the way that they're made these days, the way they're built, is they're very loud. The action scenes are very actiony, and the dialogue scenes are interminable when they actually start to talk. They don't shut up for a while. So that's a challenge just in the world of riffing to do something like that. But in particular for Star Wars, I think this one was fun because we sort of tried to take the attitude that we are not going to do as many references. We're going to just observe what's going on and have fun with that, and not make it a bunch of jokes about things that had happened in Star Wars films in the past. Just sort of like, in some ways, in certain parts of the film, it's like somebody came down to the planet and is seeing a Star Wars film for the first time. And that was sort of what we were trying to get to there. So the jokes are not just references to the Star Wars universe. They're references to how goofy the scene looks if you look at it in a certain frame. I mean, come on, Kylo Ren.
Yes.
Folks. Really? He's going to be in more of these things? And he's on billboards, and he's got, like, on the Disney thing, so they want children to go out there and buy collectibles that are based on a psychotic mass murderer who's an emo psychotic mass murderer who only wants to be loved. Make up your own minds, okay? Hate mail, send it to these guys. Send it to Geek Vision, not me.
We accept your hate mail. We welcome it with open arms. With covering the blockbusters, you get the opportunity to dip back into these franchises. Very few of the B movies you tackle warranted a sequel. A couple of them have. Some of them were sequels to begin with, but by and large, when you're covering, again, Star Wars or Twilight or Harry Potter, you've got all these movies, and at a certain point, franchises, they do start to resemble themselves pretty closely. So when you're riffing, like, the latest Hunger Games movie, for instance, how do you keep it fresh versus the jokes you've already made for all the previous movies in the franchise?
I think that's the challenge, is to just forget all of instead of referring to the films that came before, refer to different perspectives of what you're looking at that come out of seemingly nowhere because they don't come out of having seen the other Mockingjay films. Put it that way. And so, just make fun of Woody Harrelson on his own merits. And I think you're going to be just fine there. I'm actually sort of looking forward to seeing Now You Don't? Is that the sequel to Now You See Me?
Should be.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Now You Saw Me.
Yeah.
Is there a movie out there that you've just always wanted to riff and the opportunities never really come up?
Well, yeah, here's the thing I'm excited about is that we're hopefully coming soon out of beta is the Riff Tracks player. It's going to be an app that's going to... It works great on Android, and it's coming for the iPhones now. And the thing that's wonderful about this is that if a film comes on in the middle of the night on your TV and you want to hear the riff for it, you can do it. Or if it's on your iTunes collection, or you just want to rent it and stream it, it's not like you have to get the DVD now and sync it up this way, because the app will sync it up for you. So this opens up a world of films that we couldn't do before. For instance, Daredevil, the Ben Affleck Daredevil. We riffed it live at Cobb's Comedy Club in San Francisco several years ago, and it was great. It's just perfect. But we couldn't release it because nobody owns a copy of Daredevil, because I think they just don't exist. And who the hell's going to spend even $5 on a copy of Daredevil just to hear our riff for it? Not a lot of people. So it isn't worth it for us to do a just the jokes sort of riff for that MP3, and it isn't worth it for us to pay the money, the tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars it would take to actually license the film to do it. So the Riff Tracks player sort of takes care of that for us. So we'll be able to do all these 70s films and 80s films and 90s films that are scarce on DVD, but they're readily available to stream, and you can queue it up in your in whatever streaming service you use, and then you can download the riff for it and then play it whenever you want to, which is kind of... So I'm very excited about that. It is going to open up a whole world of cheese that we haven't been able to tap into yet.
There you go. It's like having Disembodio in your pocket.
That's right, exactly.
Now, with the live shows, you started out with the live shows mostly doing the easily accessible public domain material. Then, thanks to several successful Kickstarters, you've managed to get the rights to some pretty big films that, like, when Riff Tracks started, I never expected that, thanks to Riff Tracks, I'd be paying money to see Roland Emmerich's Godzilla in a movie theater again. and now there's this... You recently did Time Chasers Live, and the cast of Time Chasers was in attendance. So when you do these higher profile movies with casts and crews who are still active and who are aware of what you're doing, do you still just approach it like any old film, or is there an added pressure thinking, well, I'm making fun of the guy from Time Chasers in front of his face?
No. They knew when they came into the theater what they were going to get into, and I don't think we'd ever pull punches for that. I think we've matured over the years, and instead of we're not as mean as we used to be, like on some particular quirk of someone. And I think we'd much rather make fun of their performance than the person themselves. Sure. Except when you got a chin like the guy in Time Chasers, it's really hard to... But anyway, that's more of what we try to do, I think, these days, is to just have fun with their character, with their performance, with all of the goofy stuff that is entailed in that, rather than the person themselves. And the notable exception to that, of course, is that we've made our own version of Nick Nolte in the universe, who doesn't really exist, but boy, we love that version of Nick Nolte, and Mike's so good at doing it.
To be fair, everyone in comedy is required to have their own version of Nick Nolte.
I think so.
For the live shows in particular, you've also managed to have some pretty high-profile guest riffers, both for the Fathom live shows and for the live shows at San Francisco Sketch Fest, which you release. Now, who's the guest riffer that you just love to work with, and you guys either haven't reached out to them yet, or they just haven't been returning your calls?
We haven't had a clunker. But bottom line, everyone, especially Sketchfest, has been so great at getting us. It's Cole Stratton and Janet Varney, who also riff with us on there, and David Owen at the Sketchfest have just gone out there and found people, and some people who never knew about us before, who then came on and did a great job. There's so many. David Cross was fantastic. Bob Odenkirk actually sat down and showed how skillful he is. He said, "Look, do you mind if we work on the script a little bit?" And we're like, "Are you kidding? Of course, Bob Odenkirk wants to work on a script with us." And it was great. It was really funny, and you realized what a serious... He's a very funny guy, but he's very serious about his work, which is kind of great. And Adam Savage, he's not what you call... He doesn't pretend to be a professional stand-up, but he's very funny, and he's very funny on stage. He's a great stage presence. And Hodgman's always fantastic. Kristen Shaw was great when we had her on. Eugene Merman is... He's first of all, besides being one of the nicest people in the world, he's just got that fantastic voice. But the one that I keep going back to is Paul F. Tompkins.
Of course.
He is so good at it, and he works. He comes prepared. He knows what he's going to do. He always adds to whatever it is we're doing. So I love it whenever we can have him on the stage with us.
That was like a Twilight Zone where a supernatural thing never happened. Yeah. Like, you kept waiting for the weird thing to happen. Like, nope. Just these sad people and their sad lives.
Super slow zoom in to nothing.
Now, I would be remiss if I didn't address your musical contributions to both Mystery Science Theater and the Riff Tones. Attending the live shows, we often get to hear your songs playing over the fake trivia slides before the movie starts. Right. The musical aspect you bring to it, was that a deep-rooted passion in you, or do you just happen to have a great singing voice?
Well, thank you. The singing voice, I was in choir when I was a kid. I never really learned to read music, but I've always sung. All of my family members sing. And we're lucky enough, between Mike and Bill and I, we all have our own musical talents that we've been able to bring to this. And Bill's written some of my favorite Riff Tone songs. He wrote Sparkly Vampires. Yeah. He wrote Plans 1 through 8. which is one of my favorites too. And Mike, phenomenal in Mystery Science Theater, and he's written a few of our sillier songs. He wrote a song for Carnival of Souls, which doesn't get heard nearly as much as it ought to. It's just hysterical. But yeah, it's fun and it's lucky, and I wish we could do more of it. And I'm hoping to do more as we go along. I liked it when we started doing songs that were based on some of the films we've done, and I'd love to be able to do more of those, and hopefully we will within next 6 months or so.
So the reunion special coming up June 28th, the most riffers ever riffing together on stage at once, the biggest gathering of Mystery Science Theater alumni since the 20th anniversary Comic-Con panel. Now, this is going to be another anthology of shorts, correct?
Yes, there's going to be a whole bunch of shorts, different ones of us riffing together at different times, and we will have a Riffapalooza at the end with everyone on, and I guarantee there will be surprises.
We do love surprises, to an extent.
Good surprises.
That's right. We don't want to be surprised you're adopted or anything. Gather the entire country together just to tell them all that their parents don't really love them.
Not me. No, my parents love me.
Well, you are the exception to the rule. So the Mystery Science Theater riff tracks, 10 years of riff tracks. That is amazing for it's amazing for any endeavor, but especially for an internet comedy endeavor to just have kept going that strong, to still be as good as it was when it started, if not better. You've just the amount of years you guys have been doing this, it's truly paid off. You're doing some of your best work. It's wonderful to experience. Do you have anything else you'd like to tell us about coming up?
No, just come to the show June 28th, see all of us back there on stage. I know we're all a little bit older, but we're better.
You heard it here, folks. So be sure to check out that live show at a theater near you, and it will be available for purchase sometime after that, I believe. Maybe, probably.
I hope so.
I'll find out and cut that out if it's not true.
But come to the live show. It's more fun than seeing it at home in your underwear.
It is certainly more fun to see it in a movie theater surrounded by fellow fans, just to see it happening live. So be sure to check out that live show when it airs. Follow Kevin Murphy on Twitter at KW Murphy.
At KW Murphy, yes.
And keep up with everything he's doing and the whole Riff Tracks gang is doing. And until next time, this is Dave signing off.
We're gonna get you riff those tracks. Never pick tracks, better riffs on this end. Why you always gotta pick riff tracks? Riff tracks based on the tracks you're riffing. It's your lucky day. It's time for riff tracks.
What can I say except you're welcome? For the tides, the sun, the sky. Hey, it's okay, it's okay. You're welcome. I'm just an ordinary demiguy. Hey, what has two thumbs and pulled up the sky?
I am who am the wise guy.
When the nights got cold, who stole you fire from down below?
Electric skillets must go.
Oh, also I lasso the sun. Where'd that chicken come from? Also I harness the breeze. You're welcome.
Look, my reviews have destroyed whole cities.
So what can I say except you're welcome? For the islands I pulled from the sea. There's no need to pray, it's okay. You're welcome. Ha, I guess it's just my way of being me. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, come to think of it.
Rock and roll Martian.
Yeah.
Rock and roll Martian.
Go.
Uh-oh.
Look out.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. I'm not a very good evil monkey. I'm sorry. Don't tell Lawgiver, please. I'm sorry. I'll clean up everything. I'm sorry.
Pearl's calling.
Hide me. Tell her I killed your dog, please.
Fine. Whatever. Just get up.
Well, anyway, let me say you're welcome. You're welcome. A wonderful world you know. Hey, it's okay. You're welcome.
How's it going up there, bro?
Hey, it's your day to say you're welcome. 'cause I'm gonna need that boat. I'm sailing away, away.
You're welcome. The Crow T-Robot era is coming to a close.
You're welcome. And thank you.
Hey everyone, Dave here, and when I was on the East Coast this summer, at one point we stopped at Atomic Books, which is the favorite haunt of John Waters, and by the checkout counter, I found these Mystery Science Theater trading cards. Naturally, I had to buy 2 packs of these, and I am going to open them now on camera, because that's something YouTube does sometimes, apparently. Let's see what's in them. Behold, the official Mystery Science Theater trading cards, complete with Joel-era poster on the front, despite also having a Netflix logo on the back, so that implies to me that we could get cards from every era of the show, which I would not complain about, but we also might get special cards, which means that there would be fewer than 10 in this pack, apparently. So I'm not picky about number of cards, I'm just curious to see what's inside them. Let's do this. This is a very unnatural angle to hold things at as I sit behind this camera. Oh, it looks like I could keep track of all the ones I have with the inside of the wrapper. That would have been good to know before I tore it. And Series 2 is coming soon, so I don't know how seriously I'm going to collect all these. I just thought it was fun to find these as an impulse buy. But let's see what we got. Right off the bat, we got Frank and Dr. F with an invention exchange. Number 314, the high formal scuba flipper. Good times, good times. We got Joel and the bots looking very depressed at a party. From Castle of Fu Manchu, of course. We have another invention exchange. I feel like there's going to be a lot of invention exchange cards over the course of this whole series. And then we have an actual riff, you know, the thing you see the show for, from Robot Holocaust. This is card number 10. I can write my own joke for this picture. Maybe I will someday, but most likely I won't. And then we have the Crawling Eye DVD poster. It's a good little poster there, and for an iconic episode of the series. And the DVD menu. This is a good way to commemorate all the work Shout Factory put on the DVDs, now that very few people even get the DVDs anymore because everybody just buys them digitally or watches them on Netflix. And bongi banga kabanga. All the sound effects, of course. And more Frank and Dr. F. So far, it's been a pretty heavy Joel era in this set, which, you know, that's fun. It's a classic era of the show, but I was kind of hoping to get more from across the spectrum. But we do have Dr. Earhart here. That's fun. We've got J. Elvis right here in the cotton candy that screams invention exchange. So that is a fun piece of the show's lore. And look at the turquoise jumpsuit. That's how you know they're really going back for these. Before Joel even got the red jumpsuit. I like how these invention exchange cards basically just include the full dialogue of the invention exchange. So there's, you know, the face hugger reference, and I believe that's Mike. Was that Mike who played the baby? I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen that one. So we may have Mike on one of these cards, even though it's not a Mike-era Mike appearance. Let us see what we have in pack number 2. I'm just gonna rip it. I'm not really keeping track of this. More invention exchange cards, as we can see. So yeah, that was the blow dry invention exchange. Then we've got the spit take. From Daddy-O. So some of these are just general episode cards, but still showing from a host segment rather than from the movie itself. I'm fascinated by the selection of cards they have here. It is interesting. We are still. It might just be Series 1 might be all Joel era, so we might be waiting for Series 2 to get to Mike era. It might be. You know, I'm doing no research on this, which is rare for me before a video, because usually I love to compulsively research everything unimportant, but I'm just doing this quickly for fun because I found these on a whim. But it looks like, I'm guessing Series 1 is mostly going to be stuff from the first couple of seasons, so I wonder if Series 2 is going to be like the Comedy Central Mike years, Series 3 can be the sci-fi years, and Series 4 can be the Netflix years. Maybe, if they keep the cards going. Who even knows? But I think it's fun that these exist. I think any bit of Mystery Science Theater merch that exists is a lot of fun to me. I do not see myself collecting these much further. If I stumble across them, I might buy some more on a whim, but I don't see myself seeking these out. I'm not really planning on trading these or anything. I just like supporting Mystery Science Theater when I encounter it in the wild. So if I stumble across more Mystery Science Theater merch just at random, especially if it costs $2.50, which is, you know, roughly 8% of what one of the DVD sets costs, it's fun to me that this exists, but I don't see myself really digging hard and being a card collector, even for my favorite show of all time. But I will probably put these cards somewhere where I can enjoy them, and that somewhere might just be in a drawer in my desk somewhere. But hey, I'm glad I bought these. I'm gonna watch some Mystery Science Theater now.